Hello and welcome back to 100 coding challenges in C#. This is episode 27 and it's called validation. In this challenge, we're going to be taking a program that we've already created before in episode 19 and we're going to be adding validation to that. We want to check if input that the user inserts is between the value 0 and 25,000, and if it isn't, we want to output back to the user that the value should be between that range. Validation is something that's commonly used throughout many applications and it's very important to understand, as you will need to use it to validate users' input in order to make sure that you have valid data before you process it. For example, if you're creating some sort of calculator and you have a text field which can take in strings as well as integers, you want to make sure that the user is actually inputting an integer and not a string, so you can have a validation on that input to prevent them from writing strings. If you haven't already done episode 19, I suggest to go check that video out first. If you don't want to do the whole episode, you can skip to the end and get the code from there and then come back to this video. If you want to attempt this challenge yourself, then pause the video now. Let's begin. So here we have our discount calculator from episode 19. And all we want to do is add in an if statement to say if order value is greater than 0 and order value is less than or equals to 25,000. We can also make this an equals to, so it's greater or equals to 0, so we can have 0 as an input. It just won't have a discount. And then we want to wrap our entire code within this if statement and then have an else to say output the order value should be between 0 and 25,000. And if we save that and run it, it asks us for the enter the value. So if we put something that's within the range, let's say 2,600, it adds the discounted price. And then let's run it again and do 26,000 this time. It will say to us the order value should be between 0 and 25,000. And our calculation didn't actually run that time. So that's how you would add validation. You can contain your logic within if statements to ensure that your code doesn't run into problems. For example, if you couldn't handle something greater than 25,000 or it didn't make sense logically, you could use this to protect your code. And you would use this like in many different programs to do lots of different things. And there's also different ways of doing this as well, which we'll cover in the future. Feel free to add validation in when we're creating these programs. I know I don't always cover it because it's not in scope of what we're trying to do usually. We're just trying to look at the logic of the challenges that we're trying to solve, but you can always add in validation to make sure that the user's entering proper data. For example, even here, we could have another validation here to say, to check the user's input before we convert it into a decimal to check that it's actually a number. And if it's a string, we can output back to the user invalid input, you need to enter in a number, not a string, and so on. You can get very granular with your validation, and the more granular you are, usually the better and more robust your code will be. And depending on the interface which the user interacts with, you could also potentially stop the user from inputting different types of input directly into your program. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, then make sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. Also, give the video a thumbs up. I make these videos weekly and there's more content coming soon, so stay tuned for that. I'll see you guys in the next one.